Chapter 7. The Rescue of the Tin Woodman. When Dorothy awoke, the sun was shining through the trees and Toto had long been out chasing birds and squirrels. She sat up and saw the Scarecrow waiting for her. "We must go and search for water," she said to him.
"Why do you want water?"
he asked. "To wash my face clean after the dust of the road and to drink, so that dry bread will not stick in my throat." They left the cottage and walked through the trees until they found a little spring of clear water, when Dorothy drank and bathed and ate her breakfast. When she had finished her meal and was about to go back to the yellow brick road, she was startled to hear a deep groan nearby. "What was that?" she asked timidly.
"I cannot imagine,"
replied the Scarecrow.
"but we can go and see."
Just then another groan reached their ears, and the sound seemed to come from behind them. They turned and walked through the forest when Dorothy saw something shining. She ran towards it and then stopped short. One of the big trees had been partly chopped through, and standing beside it, with an uplifted axe in his hands, was a man made entirely of tin. Dorothy looked at him in amazement and asked, "Did you groan?"
"Yes,"
answered the Tin Man.
I did. I've been groaning for more than a year, and no one has ever heard me before or come to help me."
"What can I do for you?" she inquired softly.
"Get an oil can and oil my joints."
He answered.
"They are rusted so badly that I cannot move them at all. If I am well oiled, I shall soon be all right again. You will find an oil can on a shelf in my cottage."
Dorothy at once ran back to the cottage and found the oil can. And then she returned and asked anxiously, "Where are your joints?"
"Oil my neck first,"
replied the Tin Woodman. So she oiled it, and as it was quite badly rusted, the Scarecrow took hold of the tin head and moved it gently from side to side until it worked freely, and then the man could turn it himself.
"Now oil the joints in my arms,"
he said, and Dorothy oiled them, and the Scarecrow bent them carefully until they were quite free from rust and as good as new.
"This is a great comfort,"
he said.
"I have been holding that axe in the air ever since I rusted, and I'm glad to be able to put it down at last. Now, if you will oil the joints of my legs, I shall be all right once more."
So they oiled his legs until he could move them freely, and he thanked them again and again for his release.
"I might have stood there always if you had not come along,"
he said.
"So, you have certainly saved my life. How did you happen to be here?"
"We are on our way to the Emerald City to see the Great Oz," she answered, "and we stopped at your cottage to pass the night."
"Why do you wish to see Oz?"
he asked. "I want him to send me back to Kansas, and the Scarecrow wants him to put a few brains into his head," she replied. The Tin Woodman appeared to think deeply for a moment. Then he said,
"Do you suppose Oz could give me a hut?"
"Why, I guess so," Dorothy answered. "It would be as easy as giving the Scarecrow brains." From The Wizard of Oz by Frank L. Baum, adapted. Scarecrow, a figure made of straw and sticks and dressed in old rags, set up in fields to frighten away birds from the crop. Groan, a low, sad sound uttered in pain or grief. Timidly, in a manner that shows lack of courage. Short, here, suddenly. Joints, here, the points at which two parts of the tin body of the Tin Man are joined. Rusted, a reddish-brown flaking on metal such as iron when it is exposed to moisture in air. Anxiously, feeling or showing worry. Woodman, a man who lives in a forest and cuts trees for a living. release, able to move, act, or flow freely. Say aloud, ch and sh sounds. Listen to these words and repeat them after your teacher. Cheese, chalk, chirp, change, chef, charade, machine, moustache. You will notice that the highlighted letters in the first set of words has a ch sound, while the same letters in the second set of words has a sh sound. Now read these words aloud. Circle the words with a ch sound and underline the words with a sh sound. Charge, chiffon, chauffeur, child, chain, cheap, parachute, pistachio,